And this following comments and remarks from South Carolina Representative Ralph Norman, representing several counties for our viewing area out of the Charlotte DMA. I actually spoke to him yesterday, and we had a pretty good conversation about one big beautiful bill. He supported it, but with some caveats, and he was quite candid about his feeling and remarks about the one big beautiful bill. This previously recorded interview now playing in its entirety for you here on WCNC Plus, a WCNC exclusive right now. All right, now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, to the latest on the passing of one big beautiful bill, the act which the Trump administration is now calling the Working Families Tax Cut. And just yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson touting the bill's benefits, saying he spent plenty of his time during August traveling his district. He got positive reactions. Today we are joined now by Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina's 5th District, which includes serving York, Chester, and Lancaster counties. Thank you for joining us here on WCNC Plus, Congressman.
Glad to be with you, Jane. Thank you.
Well, you supported this legislation while also raising, and I'm going to quote, serious fiscal concerns. Walk us through what some of those concerns are and why you ultimately decided to vote yes.
What we did, Jane, was I was on the Budget Committee, was one of the 3 that voted it down for passage. And the reason for that was to make it more conservative. Now, let me give you some examples of what we were battling for. One was to not allow illegals to receive a government paycheck in the form of a Medicaid check. Another one was able-bodied Americans who could work but chose not to should not be getting a check, a government check of any kind. Some of the credits, the solar panel credits should have been discontinued. The 7,500 electric car credit should have been discontinued, and all of these were what President Trump ultimately wanted. And they had nuclear credits. They had, I could name you 4 pages of credits that needed to be paused until we get this country back on a firm financial footing. The $35 trillion in counting is not going anywhere until we deal with it. So what we did, as we debated the bill, we came to an agreement. The House passed it. It went to the Senate. They put some things back in there that we just didn't like. And it's mainly the Freedom Caucus who were driving the conservative thoughts on this. So when it came back to the House, the president called us over, about 8 of us, and said, guys, what are you doing? We said, Mr. President, we're making it better, and we're negotiating like you wanted us to. And to his credit, he kind of walked us through the political process of if we made changes and if it went back to the Senate, then you had 3 senators that were going to block it. Tom Tillis is not running for office. He's no fan of the president. Lisa Murkowski, his term will be past when Donald Trump leaves office. She's no fan of Donald Trump. Rand Paul is no fan of Donald Trump and will vote no. So those were the 3. What we risked, had we altered it, was no bill at all, which many of the senators did not want anyway, including the tax cuts. We were not going to let that happen. So when the president told us that, we got on board, passed it, and the rest is history. The country is better off for a tax cut plan that really truly benefited the whole country, and particularly my state of South Carolina.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the benefits then for South Carolina families that you're highlighting, including that tax cut. Who specifically is really going to benefit from this? Most.
Everyday working Americans. No tax on tips, had a limit of $25,000. Deduction of interest with cars that are made in the United States. It's child tax deduction. We would have seen, Jane, a 26% increase had we not passed this tax bill. And it really is a working class tax bill for all Americans. But in South Carolina, manufacturing is a big thing that it helped. For that farmer who wants to pass on his farm to a family and not face a inheritance tax, that the Biden administration would have cut that limit down dramatically. It was just a win for the American people. And I hadn't seen a tax bill like this, or a big, beautiful bill that was encompassed so much in my 8 years in Congress. But if you roll it back even past that, 35 years, 40 years, we've never had a Congress get together on this. He funded the border. What the Biden administration did to this country by opening the doors to every country is now being corrected. So all in all, it was a great win. Would I have rather seen more cuts? Yes. But we did what we could while we could do it, and this was the best that we could do, and I'm excited we passed it.
Let's talk about the implementation for work requirements for able-bodied adults on Medicaid. Can you explain some of these requirements, who would be able to go back to work, and then perhaps some of the safeguards in place for those who might lose coverage?
Yeah, the work requirements are really important, but let me explain what that encompasses. When they say work requirements, it means 20 hours a week. Now, you think how many hours you put in on reporting, and most Americans put in far more than 20 hours a week. But the guardrails were 20 hours a week. It could be community service. It could be a variety of things. If you had, I think if you were over a particular age, it's only applied to, I think, 58 and under, or maybe 55 and under. They had, if you had any kind of physical ailment, for that single mom who was pregnant, they had waivers for that. So the safeguards were in place. But bear in mind, for your listeners, 20 hours a week, that's a low threshold. I would have rather seen 35 or 40 hours, but again, we couldn't get the passage of that. So you take what is possible, and don't let perfect get in the way of the possible, as they have always said.
Sure. I hear it's now the working families tax cut. Is that a strategic rebranding, and does it have more public support than, say, the One Big Beautiful Bill?
You know, messaging is, as you know, in this world today, is important. I do think the new name is more applicable, because that's what it is. If we hadn't have had anything else but the tax cuts part of this, it would have been worth passing. But we got legitimate cuts. We got, on the reconciliation, we got guardrails. You know, we had a $2 trillion cut. We had a 1.6 threshold, but it went up to $2 trillion. We had a 2.6% growth rate, because what this president has done is energized all sectors of our economy, particularly in South Carolina, and we have businesses that want to locate there. So all in all, I think the name does have meaning, and I think it's the right thing to do.
To your constituents who might feel a little insecure now, especially the low-income families, about losing possible access to health care or food care assistance programs, what is your message to them today?
My message to them is, if they analyze what was passed, it benefits everybody. The median income in South Carolina is $67,000. I think the poverty level is right at 30 for joint home, 30-some thousand. Bottom line, if you want a job, if you want to go to work, if you want to get an education, the areas to get that. What we're trying to do, and we've begun the process of, for that young American who is wanting to get ahead, wanting to apply their God-given talents, this enables them to do this. We're shrinking government. So anybody that has concerns, and I have had some, I mean, what our opponents on the left is saying, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Social Security, which we couldn't do, and it was, throwing Granny off the cliff. That's just not right. It's a mischaracterization. They always use that, but look at the country. Look at the country now, as opposed to to a year ago under Biden or the previous 4 years, there's no comparison. I think if people were honest with themselves, it's a safer feeling now, and it's a feeling that you can invest in this country and you can find a job, particularly in my state of South Carolina and North Carolina.
And you said you'll keep fighting for the rest of the provisions that didn't make it into the final bill. For you, what are your priorities for any future legislation?
Well, we've got a pocket rescissions coming of basically foreign aid. I think in this country we have been the world's keeper, and when you ask yourself the question, where's this money coming from? It's borrowed money. America needs to take care of America. We cannot be the world's keeper because we're not in a position to do that. I think we've begun the process. I think what the DOGE Commission did to identify those areas that money should not have been allocated. Should we allocate $3 million to show Sesame Street in Iraq? Should we allocate the $40 million for building walls in Libya and other countries? I would make the argument we can't afford that, and it's not fair to the younger generation as well as all Americans to keep that kind of spending. Bottom line, Jane, we've got a spending problem. We don't have an income problem, and we've got to tackle it now. And if not now, I don't know when we do it.
All right, last question, Congressman Norman. Looking ahead to the midterm elections, how confident are you in the working families tax cut? How will voters see that legislation benefit their daily lives? Will they see it by then?
Oh, yeah. Voters are already seeing it. I mean, they're voting with, you're seeing it in two ways. Those states who are not embracing the big, beautiful bill or the things that Donald Trump has, you look at New York, people are fleeing, which once was a great state, and they're coming to areas here in South Carolina and the southern states. Look at California, totally overrun by government, and that's not America, and that's not the way this country was built. So yes, we're going to keep the midterms. We've got some great candidates coming up. I'll be working for candidates. And the left now, the Democrat Party is now the socialistic party of open borders, open crime, and that's not what's built this country, and I think the American people realize that.
Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina's 5th District, thank you so much for your time and for weighing in.
My pleasure. Thank you.